Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Doctor. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and for any of you that have been playing today, you've probably been working on the Iron Giant challenge that has just recently come out. And in this video, I aim to show you how I cleared the Iron Giant, what some strategies are you can use to implement, and what I call the single tank, single AoE damage dealer method for clearing the battle. Now, I actually ran into a problem where I didn't have two AoE damage dealers, which is kind of the go-to generalized strategy to clear this. So I'm going to talk to you guys about what I did, how I utilized Mont, who is the most freely available, easily accessible tank in the game, and how I used a team of MR and SR units, along with one UR Sid, but of course you can substitute Sid in for any AoE damage dealer in this case, and how I cleared and got all of the missions on the Iron Giant trial. So first and foremost, we are going to go over what the generalized strategy is and what the positions are for all of the units. So over here on the right side, you can see I got the two Black Mage logos on the lower right hand. That's going to be for Medina right here and Sid right here. The generalized strategy is that you have two AoE attackers positioned here or here. This might change with the tank up here as well. You send them in and you obliterate 3 of these enemies at once, automatically getting you the reward and enabling you, or not getting you the reward, but getting you the clear 3 enemies achievement. You also usually position your healer down here, and you usually position a single attacker up here that can sort of clear out the left side of the map. So there's 2 Black Mages up here. He goes in, takes them out, and then he rejoins the team up here. So that's kind of the generalized strategy. I think a lot of people follow this implementation because it's pretty easy. For me though, I didn't have this set up, but if you are out there wanting to do the generalized strategy, these are unit compositions that would work for you. For the AoE damagers, I did make sure to include every single unit that you could probably use, because I saw some complaints that Miranda and Severo weren't in my previous preparation guide for this. So let's go ahead and go down the list. Medina for her LB, Frederica for her barrage, Sid for his AoE damage, Stern for his hazard break, Gilgamesh for his AoE damage, Ramza for his Banishka blade, Yerma for her healing spinny whirlwind, Miranda for her LB I've heard is actually very good for this, and apparently her AI has been fixed, so using Miranda for her LB is very similar to Miranda here. Ishtola for foul, Gafgarian for the hazard break, substitute with whatever it is with his mercenary sub. Now, we actually have Ramada, you could potentially put her sub as Rune Blade and do AoE damage. Severo, of course, with water damage. Little Leela, of course, with some Spellblade cross-action damage that could hit all of those units. For tanks, you can use Engelbert, Nasha, Mont, or Whisper. I do prefer physical immunity tanks or physical damage tanks. I think the evasion tanks don't really shine here from my experience today. So I would recommend a physical damage tank, and as I'm going to show you guys when I do my strategy, I do use Mont, which you all have access to. So hopefully, if you don't have any fancy tanks, you can just use Mont. In terms of healers, you have Ayaka, Grace, you could also use Phoebe, you could also use Lady Helena. In terms of single attack damage dealers, I'm not going to list all of them, but you pretty much have your choice here. One call out here, if you do have a stop ninja user, or if you have Stern, this would actually be a really good place for Stern out on the far edge, because he can go in, take out the enemies, or same with Kiton, and then as you're pushing back up towards the group, you can start using your stop ability on the Iron Giant. Now, my strategy that I'm going to be talking about here is the single AoE unit strategy. So if you're anything like me, you do not have a fully maxed out Medina, you don't have 2 units that can pop AoE immediately. Yes, I do have Sid, but I don't have another unit that can pop out an AoE like Sid. So I was running into constant trouble trying to clear the defeat 3 enemies or more simultaneously. So I knew I had to create a strategy that would be easy to implement, that anybody could do, and that would have reliable results. So that is that by using Mont like this every single time, you're going to get the enemy AI to do the exact same thing every time so that you can substitute in different units. And what's really key to this is Vow of Love. So in my testing, I tested both Leonis Castle and Vow of Love on Mont. And the only way I was able to get the AI to do something consistent every single time is if I had Vow of Love on Mont. So this strategy completely relies on Vow of Love on Mont. If you don't have Vow of Love, you're gonna have to try something else, or you're gonna have to see if you can manipulate the AI to cluster and bunch in a reliable method. But this method, if you have Vow of Love, if you have a Mont level 99, you should be able to do it no matter what. There's even times where I didn't even need Phoebe in my team, but we're going to talk about why having Phoebe was important and how maybe you could substitute this team out a little bit more. I did purposefully not make myself as strong as I normally am, so you're going to see a lot of cards on my list right here, as we see on the next page. I have access to a lot more UR Espers that are 2-star. I have access to a lot stronger cards, and I opted to use more MR cards because I wanted to make sure to show you guys that this strategy is completely viable without a full UR comp. If you are free to play, if you're someone who's been playing since launch and you have a solid tank character, you have a few solid MR DPSs, that this is completely doable. Now, talking about sort of the single AoE unit strategy, you're going to notice the first thing that's different is I adjusted the comp here. So you notice that I have the tank on the far left, I have the AoE damage dealer on the far right here, so that's Sid, and then I have Phoebe up top to support. Now, part of the reason for this is I want all of the enemies to focus Mont. That is very important. So I move my Sid up here to this place, but I'm not going to AoE attack. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit this enemy right here with my Nagra Rock. And the reason for that is I want to generate AP, and I want to lower their total HP. So my goal right now is to lower all of these guys' HP, and then actually have Mont super tank. And transitioning to the next slide here, you're going to see that we're going to be talking about Sentinel a lot. And Sentinel is the strongest ability you can probably use for this, and it is required. So it is a maxed out Sentinel. I place my Mont right here, and if you place your Mont right here, you are going to have reliable clumping from the enemies. And I place my Mont right there, and I pop Sentinel. And you notice my Mont in this picture has really low HP. That's because I realized my Sentinel wasn't actually fully maxed. So when you do have a fully maxed Sentinel, you probably won't dip below half HP on your Mont here. I did level it up, and I did retest it with some other units, and I can promise you that your Mont will have about higher HP than this with a maxed out Sentinel. Now, one of the other things you're going to notice is that once you do all of your moves here and your opponent is starting to make their moves, they'll cluster around your Mont like this, which is great. And then you're going to notice this black mage on the right side pushing up towards you. Now, one of the most important things is to focus on Mont's survivability here, and to focus on getting these units in the center, getting your kill 3. So this black mage right here, you need to kill him. So the next move that I make is usually putting my Sid over here on the edge and murdering this black mage. This black mage will almost always come and cast Blizzaga on your support unit. You will be fine. I would just not worry too much about that. Now, over here on the left side, you notice that I had my Sir O and my Ryu. My Sir O is starting to push up. Now, the reason that I'm pushing up is that the end result I want is for both of these units to clear out these black mages and push into the center. So they're going to be kind of like the, if Sid's the right-hand punch, these guys are the left-hand punch. So these guys are going to clear out the mages, push their way up, and they're also going to take a little bit of the damage away from Mont here. The most damage that you're going to receive is going to be from the black mages. Yes, the melee units do use Trinity Guard, but with Sentinel up, with defense armor, you're not going to actually be suffering that much. What you're really going to want to do is target the black mages or pull them off Mont when possible here. Now, what you're going to notice is I do kill this black mage here. This other black mage, just ignore. We just talked about that. Now, after this, when you sort of are like, okay, what do I do now? You're kind of in this situation where you're a little bit flexible, because you might not be able to kill the enemy units on the left side as fast as me. You might take 2 turns to kill this black mage right here. You are going to have to think and strategize on what's going to be best for you. And the best idea is to open yourself up so that you can one-shot these 3 enemies in an AoE attack. So that is something you're going to have to do. You're going to have to pick off and lower their HP slowly and surely. This is not a rush. Your Mont has Sentinel. He can pop it twice in a row. If you're finding Mont is struggling or his HP is getting a little bit lower, just pop Sentinel again. Make sure you're having your support unit or your Phoebe Curata. At this point in the fight, this was my fully upgraded Sentinel Mont right now. You can see they hardly took any HP off him, and this is with Phoebe casting Curata on him as well. So another thing here, my Sid was looking at weakening the enemy opponents, but notice that this would lower his AP substantially. I actually didn't end up making this move because I knew I was going to need a certain amount of AP in order to do an AoE finish technique. So I actually moved in here and hit this Black Mage with a melee attack. The Iron Giant will move in. Don't worry too much about the Iron Giant. As long as you have meaty melee, you should be able to take a hit. Now, if you are a newer player and you're on the level 60 map and you're struggling, do know that you have access to use 3 items. If you're on the level 80 map, you cannot use items to get all the rewards. But if you're on the level 60 map, if you're a newer player and you want to get those rainbow shards, get some X potions and just forego Phoebe completely and give yourself another melee DPS in there. Because if you set your X potions, they heal upwards of 2300 HP. You don't need a healer, and it's a quick way to support you and sort of pick off some of those other Black Mages as you're strategizing for the AoE damage. So if you're concerned that you can't do the level 80 mission, if you don't have a healer and you feel like you're just not going to be able to do the level 60 mission, try it again with X potions, level up that Mont, and give it another try. If you're maybe a newer player and you're level 50 right now, this might be a great opportunity to give this a try and try to do it with X potions. Continuing on the strategy, guys, you see here I have Stern on the left side. That's because I changed out Stern and Sir O, and I tried to clear this multiple times with different unit comps to make sure that this strategy was reliable. So what you're seeing here is the left punch coming in right now. And in this particular situation on this map, you can see that the Black Mage didn't die in one hit down there in the lower right-hand corner. So Sid actually had to hit him twice. So in the amount of time it took for Sid to kill that Black Mage, Stern was able to make his way up here and start weakening these other units. And if I didn't use like a technique like Armor Crush or something on this Black Mage, I would have enough AP for my Limit Break. And so I would use Sid's Limit Break. Of course, if you don't, you can just run back up, smack that Black Mage, keep them positioned, and then AoE murder them the next turn. But a lot of this strategy really relies on Mont popping Sentinel 2 times in a row, being very defensively focused. And one thing you might notice, if you notice here on the left side, how Ryu is now sitting next to my Mont. If you don't have Ryu here, or if you have like Phoebe right here below, the units will change position on you, and they will go to encircle Mont fully. If that happens, you can still do your AoE damage. You just have to wait to move Mont off here and have them AoE damage here. Now, of course, once you do the AoE damage, you do have the achievement, and then you have the challenge of fighting Iron Giant. And if you are someone who has lower level DPS units, so for example, when I cleared this with Sir O, Ryu, and I was going up against the Iron Giant, I actually had to rely on Stop to kill him. And the reason for that is I wasn't running a Dispel in my team, and I needed to do enough damage to kill him within 4 or 5 turns without popping the sort of Iron Berserker ability, which buffs his or quadruples his attack. So what I actually did is I had a 35% chance to land slow with Phoebe. Stop. I kept casting Stop until I landed it, and then I just sent all of my melee in to murder the Iron Giant. Now, this is a pretty valid strategy. I would not have been able to kill him without the buff if I didn't land slow. So if you have a weaker team, or if you have a team that is mostly made up of MR units, you might want to consider bringing along a Time Mage or bringing along someone who has Stop. So these are the 6 units that have access to Stop. So these are actually the time mage stop casting spells on the top. And then all the ninjas here have access to Shadow Bind, which is a chance of inflicting stop. And I think any of these ninjas could fill that role of independent DPS. Lorenzo could fill that role of independent DPS. The only one who's a little bit weird here is Marguerite. I think Phoebe kind of fits into that healer and time mage role, but Marguerite would probably be the hardest one to bring in. She's also fire element, so she's not going to be able to deal as much damage. So I would say if you have any of these units, definitely worth it to bring it along. If you're trying to strategize yourself on how to clear the mission, I would definitely consider bringing one of these units along if you're worried about your DPS. Another option, of course, is if you have access to Dispel. You don't have to worry about stop, you just full charge in on the Iron Giant. When he does do Iron Berserker and quadruples his attack, you do transition into Dispel and then attack once more. Alright, you guys, I hope you all found this useful today. If you guys didn't know, I am Amazon link affiliated. If you are going to be buying any Visior, make sure you check out my Amazon affiliate link down below. Buying with Amazon coins does save you 20%, so it does help me out a lot. Make sure you come swing by our Discord. Make sure you come swing by our stream tonight. We are going to be doing some Iron Giant on stream. I'll kind of help you guys problem solve some of your Iron Giant questions, and we will try and get you guys the Iron Giant mission clears that you need. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. We are going to be having more Iron Giant content, including how to optimize multi-farms and some other content on how to actually clear in multi-farm if you're maybe a lower level unit. So thank you so much for listening, you guys, and have a great rest of your day.